houseplant friends, welcome back to my YouTube channel, and today I'm going to tell you about my current favorite houseplants that I own in my collection. Before we get started, please like this video if you can, and if you're feeling extra nice, please watch it at least halfway through and leave a permanent comment. Watching the video halfway through or all the way through and leaving a permanent comment are actually the best ways to help me out with my channel. Those are two ways you can help me. Thank you so much for being here. I'm excited to share my plants with you. We have 12 plants that we are gonna talk about today. I'm gonna go ahead and get my little gloves on because we're not supposed to touch plant matter while pregnant. And by the way, please watch my pregnancy vlogs if you haven't. All right, let's get into it. The first plant I want to tell you about is actually going to be my philodendron ilsamanii. This is a plant I've had for a couple of years, and no, it has not grown. This is actually a pup that grew off of the main stem of the original plant that I had. I have sold something like 8 or 9 different ilsamanii cuttings that have grown into fully blossomed people, and this is the one that I decided to keep for myself just because it's all cute and tiny and adorable. I love it, and I am actually going to be transplanting it out of here soon into a actual kind of like a pot situation because I don't really feel like it's thriving in here. I feel like it's making smaller and smaller leaves. The next plant we're going to be talking about is going to be my variegated micans. This is a Aurea variegated micans. Here is a halo. This is the other variety right here. So you can see the color difference. Here we go. You can see the color difference on the Aurea version. It's much more variegated throughout the plant instead of just being variegated on the outside. This specific leaf right here is just so gorge. Oh, it's so good. And we're getting a new leaf from the stem right there. So I'm excited for that one. The next plant I'm going to tell you about is Anthurium cuticuense, and that is this plant right here. This Anthurium is kind of like a vining Anthurium, except it doesn't vine kind of like this. It's more so like a this kind of viner. Like it does that. And then you can see here we have the node, and this was like a dead leaf that I pulled off, but as you can see, we are getting a growth point around the back right there. The little tiny guy sticking off. There we go. New growth point, and that's gonna be super exciting. But I've had this plant since 2019, and I've always kept it in some variety. I've definitely done a lot of cuttings and given it to a lot of my friends because it's such a unique anthurium. And I don't usually like T-shaped plants in general. Like I don't like it when syngonium kind of get the dog ears, but you know, this one is just, it's like bolate and cool. And I just really like it. So yeah, Anthurium cuticuense. The next plant we're gonna talk about is Syngonium aurea, and that is this one right here. Oh, and this one's making serious progress. It's giving me a new leaf back here, and that was not out that much. So it is presently throwing hands. And I love the aurea. It's kind of the same deal with this like green on green variegation. This is, you would think it's like yellow, but this is actually like a very green on green aurea variety. And I just adore it. This has been one of my favorite syngonium next to another syngonium, which I'm going to show you in a minute here, for a really long time. And it was always like 3 times as expensive as all of the other syngonium that I liked. So I never got it, but my friend Devin gave me a cutting of his, and now I get to grow it in my collection, and I'm so ridiculously pumped to see how this this new growth comes in right here. The next plant we're going to be talking about is the variegated Monstera adansonii, and this plant I used to really not like. I don't know what it was. It just didn't do it for me. It was kind of like everyone else likes it, and so I don't want to like it kind of a vibe. Let's see a new leaf coming in. And I have multiple different varieties of adansonii. This one is the variegated Indonesian mint adansonii, and that's the same as this one. This is just your standard Monstera adansonii albo variegata. Then we have a couple of roots back here. So all those little chunks, there's 3. There's 2 right here, and then 1 kind of tucked back there. All 3 of those are also variegated adansonii that I am growing in, and none of them have, oh, just kidding, this one actually has an active growth point. you can kind of see it sticking down. That little thing that's sticking down is an active growth point. So we're getting there, and I'm gonna have a bunch of little variegated Adansonia, and I'm so excited. Something about this plant for me, it's so magical. And I feel like I'm just blessed because I have plants with really good genes. For example, this one I got from a person who purchased it from NSE Tropicals herself, so. Yeah, the next plant I'm gonna tell you about is my philodendron strawberry shake. That is this yellow, our little yellow plantlet that we have down here. Now I used to have quite a few of these. I think I had 4 or 5, but I recently had a plant sale and I wanted to share the love with my local community. So I sold a couple of them for ridiculously cheap. I'm talking like 10 bucks, just because I wanted people to be able to have the opportunity to own them. The plants like this one, like the shake, are a lot cheaper now than they were before, but they're still pretty expensive in comparison when you like look at just like general expensiveness for things. Like $65 for a full strawberry shake is cheap, but that's still $65. You know, not everyone just has $65. I would say most people don't have $65 for a plant anymore. So yeah, this one I love. I got this recently actually from Botanica's. They sent it to me and I love the Botanica's strawberry shakes. They are some of my favorite in terms of the genetics. So I'm super excited to see how this one grows. This is another one I think I am gonna pull out of here and put into its own little space, give it exactly what it needs, and just watch it a little bit better, you know? Same thing with this. This isn't one of the plants we're talking about today, but I think this is another plant that I'm gonna be moving outside of the terrarium. The next plant I'm gonna be talking about is this Syngonium red spot tricolor. And this plant is just straight up gorgeous. I traded for this, so I actually did not have to pay. And this plant, while it is much cheaper than it was before, still goes for about $80 to $100. And I traded some of my Hoya for this. And I feel like I got one of the best like genetics of a red spot tricolor I've honestly ever seen. So like all of the white that's on it is super, super great. I'm just really happy with it. It's also giving a new leaf that has a bunch of pink, and you can't see it, but there's definitely a large section of some white in there. Oh God, it's trying so hard to focus. Got a lot of white on this new leaf that's coming in right here, so I'm excited. But yeah, that's Syngonium red spot tricolor. And yeah, I just think that I think that mine is one of the prettiest ones I've ever seen. And so I'm so grateful that I got to get this without spending a bunch of money. About a year and a half ago, this plant was going for about $1,000. So very happy the prices have come down so far to the point where I can trade for it. The next plant we're gonna be talking about is my Hoya Fitchii. And that's gonna be this Hoya right here. Now mine is very large. It used to be much larger than this. This runner that it has is absolutely ridiculous. It has multiple peduncles. Got a couple that are working on some flowers right now. I cut this one recently to trade for my Syngonium red spot tricolor. I cut a incredibly large section off because the gal didn't have one, and I was like, yes, I absolutely wanna like bless you with that. And I love it because it sun stresses so beautifully. Like this red on it, oh my gosh, it's just so gorgeous. And the flowers on Hoya Fitchii are just amazing. I've been loving veiny Hoya, and I feel like veiny Hoya are usually like dark veined, and so this one I just love for the fact that all of its veins are lighter colored. So when the plant gets kind of like sun stressed, the veins stand out even more because those don't change color. That is Hoya Fitchii. All right, the last few plants we have are actually out in my house. So I'm gonna go ahead and close our terrarium here, and we are gonna take a look at the Hoya Carnosa compacta variegata, the Hoya pubicalyx splash, the Ficus altissima, and the Monstera deliciosa. All right, here is my Hoya Carnosa compacta. And I mean, this thing is huge. This was a gift from my mom because I used to have a pretty big Hoya Carnosa compacta, but when I got depressed, it got really bad mealybugs, and I just didn't have the capacity to take care of it. So It did die, and when I got better, my mom purchased me this one. This plant was $150. It was incredibly expensive, but it wasn't as expensive as bigger cities will charge for Hoya carnosa compacta. This plant in a larger city than mine would have been something like, oh gosh, like $300 or so. So I'm still like, I'm really happy about it, and I'm incredibly happy my mom decided to bless me with that. It's so big, and you can see all of this more compact growth at the tops of all these ropes is new growth, and you can see this one right here is sticking out. But yeah, it's an incredibly fast grower. It's also got multiple growth points happening at the same time. And this one just sits in my window right here and looks gorgeous like all of the time. So yeah, and the care for this, I literally just water it here and there. I am about to start fertilizing it. Devin is hooking me up with his fertilizer, and I'm gonna copy him and use his fertilizer because I really like the way his plants grow. So yeah, that's Hoya carnosa compacta variegata. The next plant I want to talk about is my Hoya pubicalyx, and this is a massive 2-gallon pot of Hoya pubicalyx. This is one of my favorite plants, and I actually didn't love this plant until I went and visited my friend Harley's house, and I saw hers, and I was like, oh my gosh. And it's the same story with my philodendron Brazil, which is not a star of this video, but I did not like this plant either, really, until I saw Harley's, because I just saw how beautiful it could like grow in a space. And I'm sure some of you guys can agree with me. Some plants don't look the most beautiful in like a nursery, in a nursery space. So, but yeah, my Hoya pubicalyx, I actually just trimmed it. I cut off all of the dead ends, so there was a lot of places on the plant where it wasn't actively growing. And I mean, some of the variegation on these leaves is wild. I also did just water this last night, but I hope you can kind of get the scope of how freaking huge this plant is. I cannot hang it up on my curtain rod because it will pull the curtain rod down even though it's in wood. I do not trust it. So the variegation on it is absolutely superb, and it's just really, really, really nice. I have it on its own stool, and it just sits here in front of my window. It is actively growing. You can see some new stems here. We got a new little leaf, and I know there's more new leaves. Got a bunch of new growth points happening. It really likes the spot. I mean, why wouldn't it? It's 3 huge south-facing windows that are completely unobstructed. But yeah, that is my Hoya pubicalyx, and I adore this. This one was also purchased by my mom. I think you're seeing a trend. My mom likes to buy me plants. Onto the final plant that was purchased by my mother is this Ficus altissima. And this thing is massive. It's literally, I think, the largest plant I own. She purchased this one for me recently. This plant was only $45, and it is so gorgeous. It was a complete steal. Like, oh my gosh. And that store had multiple ficus that were this large for $45. So that was an amazing find. I love greenscapes. Oh my gosh, like look at the variegation on it. It's actively growing. We also have current growth points. I really liked this one because it's very tree-like. Like it is presently a tree. It's not kind of like fiddly figs where you buy them and then they kind of have to become a tree. They're more like a little bush. Like this one is already doing tree things. The only thing is this one can't really support itself, so it is against the wall until it can get stronger. And the final plant I want to show you is my Monstera deliciosa. Now, this plant was given to me by Devin, my friend Devin, because mine I ended up giving away when I got really depressed because I knew I would kill them. So Devin was looking for a home for his Monstera because he was moving on onto bigger and better plants. And I was like, I'll take it if you don't want it. And he's like, oh, that's awesome. I was just gonna have some Facebook girly come get it. But I was like, yeah, if you give it to me, you can see it in my house. And he was like, that sounds like a freaking plan. And look at this pot. Look at this pot. And we do have some new growth plants down here, which is super cute. But yeah, I really like the Monstera too. I like how bushy it is at the top. All right, thank you so much for watching this video and letting me yap to you about my current favorite houseplants. I hope that you enjoyed this video. Let me know if you added any plants to your little wish list. And yeah, please leave a permanent comment if you haven't liked the video, if you forgot. And I will see you guys in the next houseplant section. Goodbye.